So second uncle was doing all this for me. I assumed that second uncle wanted to send me away. You wanted to drive me away from the back courtyard so you could go search for things. Slowly and deliberately, Huang Yuli said. Bai Lu Jing's heart shook. Search for what? How come I cannot understand your words? Smilingly, Huang Yuli replied, Are you not searching for something, second uncle? That day when fourth sister came to my courtyard, she said that it was second sister who asked her to come. She said that you wanted to find a key. Reaching this point, she directed an innocent and naive gaze towards Bai Lu Jing and asked, Second uncle, what key are they talking about? How could I have any sort of key? And why are you searching for it? Hands shaking, Bai Lu Jing immediately directed a seething glare towards the manor madam and Bai Ruoqi. The key that Huang Yuli was referring to naturally was the key to Bai Lu Feng's treasure trove. His older brother, the most powerful man in South Yu, had collected countless treasures. He had heard that there were even 6th-level pills and armaments. The key to these treasures should logically have been left with Bai Ruoli. Unfortunately, she did not have knowledge. Bai Lu Jing naturally coveted this key. But he afraid to alert his niece, causing her to open the safe first. So every time he mentioned the topic, he would be very careful and probe around in the dark. He did not expect that Bai Ruoqi would leak this out and alerted Huang Yuli of this affair. She really couldn't do anything right. Failing miserably. If they were unable to obtain Bai Lu Feng's inheritance, then the blame would be all on those two women. Currently, Bai Ruoqi was full of embarrassment. Hastily she said, Third sister, what key are you talking about? I have not said anything of the like. And I don't know what you are pointing at. Fourth sister recently fell under evil possession and has become muddled-headed. She definitely is speaking mindless drivel. Is that so? But didn't you just state that fourth sister wasn't possessed by evil but fell under my schemes? Resulting in her naked lap around the streets. It's not like that. Third sister, look at what you're saying. The words that fourth sister says when she is muddled cannot be believed. And it wasn't me who asked her to go to the back courtyard. Please do not wrong me. During her little explanation, Bai Ruoqi was bloodily cursing at Bai Ruoyen. Asking her to complete such a little thing and she wasn't able to. Furthermore, she leaked the news of the key outside. Now that their father knows, who knows how angry he will become. Really dragged down by her. Huang Yuli said, Then I must have misheard that day. Since it is like this, then second sister, you must acknowledge you have wronged me. The matter of the fourth sister running around naked was the result of her own sickness. Unrelated to me in any way. And the question of my demonic techniques are but baseless rumors. Following this sequence, this was the only possible conclusion. Bai Ruoqi could only admit it, yes. Yes, I wrongly accused third sister. Gently smiling, Huang Yuli said, Second sister, you are the eldest daughter of the Wu Wei Manor. How can you casually accuse people? In the future, do not speak nonsense like that. Just look at your face's condition. This may become a case of a loose tongue that causing trouble. In the future, if you were beaten to a worse state, what will you do? You, Bai Ruoqi nearly shattered her teeth from biting too hard. She being hit and Bai Ruoyen running around naked, were clearly linked to Huang Yuli. But she had found a weak point of hers, forcing her to admit that she had slandered her. This little slut, not only did she free herself of the mess, she also added such sarcasm. Wasn't she clearly scolding her of deserving it and should have been beaten with a raised nose? Furthermore, she could not say any words in retaliation. There was nothing more infuriating than this. You can also listen on. Ignoring Bai Ruoqi's murderous gaze, Huang Yuli turned her attention back to Bai Lu Jing. Look at that second uncle. Did I not say that the matter of second sister being hit is not related to me in any way? She has admitted it herself, so there should not be any more problems with me. What more could Bai Lu Jing say? He knew that Huang Yuli was aware of the key, and was afraid of alerting her of anything more. As a result, he could only continue to act oblivious and hope to gloss over the leak that Bai Ruoqi made. This was second uncle's fault. But you secretly meeting with men outside is not correct. You are still a conferred regent princess. If news of this were to spread out, even the emperor himself would lose face. Worst case, he might strip you of your title. Huang Yuli's thought this was laughable, lips curving. Want to use the emperor to scare her? This second uncle of hers is really short-sighted. In her previous life, even the lord of the South Sky region would treat her with extreme deference. Say nothing of a measly South Yu, who was but a tiny country in the South Sky region. This so-called emperor, she did not put him her eyes. Purposefully she smiled, many thanks for second uncle's reminder. Since you are not searching for anything, there is no need for me to move. The manor's back courtyard is where I grew up. If I were to move and unable to accustom myself, I might say the wrong things. There is also the possibility I might secretly come back. If this were to be misunderstood by others that second uncle was treating me badly, how bad that would be. Hearing those words, Bai Lu Jing's face turned steaming red from anger. This damn girl really was not the same. If it were the previous her, she would have long been scared speechless and obediently complied. But now, she clearly saw through all his motives and was evidently threatening him. If he were to forcibly drive her away, this girl would go around spreading malicious rumors, ruining the name of the manor. And if those rumors were to reach the emperor's ears? Biting his teeth, Bai Lu Jing replied, "Good. You are old now and your wings have hardened. Your second uncle can no longer control you. Since you do not want to take shelter from the wind, you cannot blame your second uncle if you cannot be married off. Then I won't trouble second uncle for his worry. After all, I am someone who has a verbal engagement with the crown prince. Who knows, I may wed into the royal family and become the crown prince's imperial concubine." Huang Yuli lightly replied. Just as she finished her words, Bai Ruoqi uncontrollably cried out. "You sure dream well. On what basis, want to become the crown prince's imperial concubine?" Calmly, Huang Yuli answered her, "Why can't I? My father was a famous and the strongest person in South Yu. While I am a regent princess whose title was personally conferred by the emperor. Even when I was young, the emperor mentioned marriage between the crown prince and I. If I cannot become the crown prince's imperial concubine, who can? Could it be you, second sister? You don't always think about the past. The current master of Wu Wei Manor is my father. Also, do you think that the emperor will allow the crown prince to choose someone whose is a cultivation trash as his imperial concubine? The crown prince is a mighty fifth-grade talent, who would definitely need to choose a female of similar talent as he is to match him. A trash like you, don't think about soaring your entire life. Looks like second sister has some intention towards the position of imperial concubine, determined to win. Oh, of course. Apart from me, who else can match with the crown prince? Cheer." Interrupting them, the manor madam cried out, "Don't speak anymore." Startled, Bai Ruoqi finally reacted. Under the provocation of Huang Yuli, she had said all the things which had kept secretly within her. If those words were to be heard by those within the royal palace, it would be great disrespect. Hastily she shut her mouth. Clamping down hard, she glared hatefully at Huang Yuli. Presently, Huang Yuli confirmed the motive behind this mother-daughter pair's accusation of her of illicit relationship. It was all due to the position of imperial concubine. You can also listen on. She no longer wanted to waste any more time in the manner filled with evil-hearted people. Placing the teacup down, she stood up. Second uncle, the time is no longer early, so I will first return. But I still have a task to trouble you with. Finishing, Huang Yuli took out a piece of paper that was filled with small words. Knitting his eyebrows together, Bai Lu Jing asked, "What is this?" Pronouncing each word clearly, Huang Yuli replied, "This is list of my father's private properties and items in my mother's dowry. I will trouble second uncle to look over it." "What is your intention?" Bai Lu Jing's facial expression shifted. Smilingly, Huang Yuli said, "Second uncle, since I was young in age, I asked you to look after the estates and properties that my mother and father left behind for me. But my heart would not me feel at peace. How can I continue to trouble you? Now that I am older, if I were to allow second uncle to work hard like this, people will say that I am unfilial." He did not expect that today's visit of Huang Yuli was for this. She even prepared a written list, waiting to meet him. He was leading a wolf into the home. Though her words were nice to listen to, the sarcasm that mocked him for bullying his niece due to her young age to possess her property was heard very clearly. If he was not willingly to return it, was she prepared to cause a large fuss? With great difficulty, Bai Lu Jing steadied his emotions and said, Your intention, second uncle understands. But this is not something that can be done in 1 or 2 days. I must take time to calculate everything clearly and accurately before handing everything back to you. What do you say?" Very quickly he decided to stall for time. He will first stabilize his position with this girl, before slowly refuse to admit anything. After all, she was just a girl who had yet to experience society. The management of the properties was not an easy task, she would understand anything. When the time came, he would transfer all the money away and send her an empty statement. She wouldn't be able to find a way out. Huang Yuli long expected he would say this. Smiling, she didn't refute his words. "Since it's like this, then do not worry about any changes. I ask that second uncle send a compiled list of all the properties to my back courtyard within 3 days. Don't be so hasty. The storehouse needs to make an inventory of all the treasures and the like." Smiling, "Second uncle, I forgot to tell you. The items listed on the list were all bestowed by the royal palace. If the empress were to ask me of those bestowed items when I enter the royal palace in a few days, I would be committing a grave sin if any were to be missing. Second uncle, you wouldn't dig such a pit for me." Bai Lu Jing was stunned for quite a while. Forcibly possessing items bestowed by the palace would definitely result in conviction from the emperor. He could only return that portion to her. But the things that Bai Lu Feng left behind, how was he to know which ones were palace bestowed and which wasn't? Didn't he still have rely on Huang Yuli's word? If she said they all were, he wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But what if the few items he did not return were the bestowed items? Wouldn't he be leaving a handle for her to grab onto? And coincidentally, all the things that Huang Yuli listed were priceless and invaluable. Forcing him to give them up so easily really made him want to spit blood. The pain was equivalent to slicing his flesh away. Bai Lu Jing forced out a smile. "Okay, second uncle will do his best to sort things out and send it over for you. I shall give my thanks first, second uncle." Completing her objective, Huang Yuli waved her hands and walked out. She ignored Bai Lu Jing's fiery gaze. You can also listen on. Just moments after Huang Yuli left, Bai Lu Jing whipped his body around. With a loud paw, he gave Bai Ruoqi a slap. "Father!" Clutching her cheek, Bai Ruoqi could not react. She was the most favored daughter of Bai Lu Jing. She had never been hit by him before. Who would have imagined that Bai Lu Jing would take his anger on her? Furthermore, he did not offer an explanation before landing that slap. Bai Lu Jing was immensely angered by Huang Yuli, but had no method to release it. When he turned around and saw that pig-headed daughter of his, he slapped her in a fit of anger. In the past, the more he saw the more he liked her. But now, just looking at her made him disgusted. It's all because of you. If it weren't because of your loose mouth with Yenner, how would she be able to alert that damn girl of the key? Now that she become this powerful should all be because of elder brother's inheritance. Even in his dreams, Bai Lu Jing dreamed of obtaining those treasures. He had been stuck in the 9th level of the defensive profound realm for many years already. He was hoping to find a pill within those treasures and hopefully be promoted to the spirit profound realm. With that increase, he would become on the of the powerhouses in South Yu. He would no longer need to spend his days in fear over the happiness and moods of the emperor. He didn't expect that Bai Ruo Qi would leak the news out, halting his grand plans. Not to mention how many properties and treasures Huang Yuli had asked him to return. Such heavy losses. If it weren't for the fact that Bai Ruo Qi could not reconcile with Huang Yuli, how could he possibly be blackmailed by that girl? Prostrating tearfully, Bai Ruo Qi said, "Father, this truly was not daughter's fault. It was all due to fourth sister's loose tongue. She definitely heard of the conversation between mother and I. It's all her fault." The burning flames of anger burned even more ferociously within Bai Ruo Qi's heart. It's all because of Bai Ruoli, that cheap slut. She was clearly a wastrel, yet beat her to such an ugly appearance. She also dreamed of becoming the crown prince's imperial concubine. If Bai Ruoli were to end up in her hands, she would suffer a fate worse than death. At the manor entrance, Bai Ruo Yan was currently in the midst of an argument with the manor madam's confidant, Mama Lu. "Move aside for me. I want to see my father. I don't believe that my father would drive me away from the manor. There is definitely someone working from the shadows. Let me see my father, so I can explain everything to him." Putting in a false smile, Mama Lu said, "Fourth young miss, the master already said he no longer wants to see you again. Why don't you obediently go to the farmstead and not lose any more face for the manor?" "Not possible. How can my father not want to see me? Then I want to see second sister. Second sister will definitely help me." Just as Huang Yuli was leaving, she happened to see the exchange between the two parties. Watching this, she smiled from amusement. Looking at her blankly, it took Bai Ruo Yan some time before she recognized that person. Soon afterwards, she stormed over. In a fit of anger, she raised her hand and slapped towards Huang Yuli. "Little slut. It's all your fault. What demonic technique did you use on me, making me act like that? Now you are pleased. I'll beat you to death." With a light move her foot, she kicked a stone right under Bai Ruo Yan's foot. Stepping on the stone, Bai Ruo Yan lost her equilibrium and fell heavily onto the floor. Furthermore, she landed in a sprawled position. Giggling, Huang Yuli said, Fourth younger sister, I know that you feel very grateful towards me. But there is no need for you to go to such lengths to express this. You make your elder sister embarrassed to accept it. You can also listen on." Raising her head, Bai Ruo Yan's face was full of hatred. Suddenly she felt her nose turn cold. Feeling her nose, she was startled to see that her nose had started to bleed. Coupled with her dust-covered clothes, what part of her seemed like a high society lady? She seemed worse than a beggar. "Bai Ruoli, you're looking for death." Hearing the jeers of the passerbys, Bai Ruo Yan was flustered and exasperated. "You harmed me like this and still have the mood to be sarcastic. You are too shameless. Just you wait, you lowly wastrel, wait for me to find my second sister. She will help me vent my anger and ruthlessly beat you up." Laughing while shaking her head, Huang Yuli replied, I have meet stupid. But never have I meet such stupidity. What do you mean? You say I am stupid. Sweeping over her, Huang Yuli began, are you not stupid? You think that Bai Ruoqi will plead for you. To tell you the truth, the reason behind your expelling was because of her instigating to second uncle today. Bai Ruoyan coldly laughed, it seems you are the one trying to sow disharmony between us. I am on very good terms with second sister, she looks after me in many areas. It was definitely you who said bad things about me to my father. You want to place the blame on second sister's head. You think I would believe you? Oh. You think it was me? Do you think that your father would believe me if I were to say those things to him? He believed one word from me and drove you out of the manor. It's very clear the one who bad-mouthed you was someone your father trusts very much. That's why you so justly driven away. That's not possible. It's not possible, you must be lying to me. Speaking bluntly, second sister is just using you. You helped her with so many things, yet she so easily turned her back on you. So pitiful, shut up. Shut your mouth for me. What Huang Yuli said was very reasonable. Bai Ruoyan's mind believed it, her heart was not so ready to believe her. Sighing out, it's up to you whether you believe me or not. TSK. Being used, yet you are still counting money for them. Not speaking anymore, she left. Turning around the corner, Huang Yuli glanced back. What she was Bai Ruoyan staring at the manor's gates with an expression of poisonous blame. Her lips curved up. Looked like from that moment onwards, those two sisters would become enemies. One was treacherous, the other malicious. Those two people, who would be the final victor? By the time Huang Yuli returned to her back courtyard, the sky had already darkened. Kai Wei was anxiously running around in circles as she waited. Only when she saw Huang Yuli step through the doors, did she release a sigh of relief. Young miss, you have finally returned. This servant was worried to death for you. Relax, your miss is fine. Quickly go and rest. Dismissing Kai Wei, Huang Yuli walked straight to her bedroom. As soon as she pushed open the doors, she sensed something was off. Within the air was a thin thread of danger, incompatible with the room's atmosphere. Unconsciously she took out a flying needle. Using a deadly technique, she threw it. This flying needle was also an uncommon type of profound weapon. Under her refinement, its killing power was no less than a blade's. And due to its small size, it was very hard to sense. Even defensive profound experts would be hard-pressed to defend against this attack once she released it. However, the moment the needle flew away, Huang Yuli felt an immense suction force towards her. The opponent's power was far too great. She could not resist as her wrists were grabbed, throwing her straight onto the bed. You can also listen on. A warm body suddenly appeared on top of her body, filled with dominating strength. The suffocating pressure nearly caused Huang Yuli to be unable to breathe. The hot air engulfed her, while warm fingers went straight to her neck. Straight afterwards, they captured her chin and forced her to look up. Because Huang Yuli was thrown onto the bed, it took her a moment to regain herself. When she did, another needle flew out with a flick of her fingers. The body of the man pressing her down shifted and dodged the incoming needle. Taking the chance, Huang Yuli's 10 fingers were like lightning as they lashed out. As fast as she was, the man moved even faster. Moving easily to the side, he effortlessly avoided Huang Yuli's attack. Grabbing onto her wrists, he lightly smiled, "You attacks are so deadly. If my cultivation was a bit poor, then I would have been injured by you." That voice was a sexy and husky sound, and sounded very familiar. Stunned, Huang Yuli raised her head to look at him. With the moonlight peeking in from the open window, the man's perfectly chiseled jawlines was revealed, not a single flaw to be seen. The silver mask on his face reflected the cold moonlight. This caused others to be unable to look at him clearly. "It's you." Huang Yuli's brows knitted together. Pointing out a finger, he shook it. "Pooh," it lightly sounded. A small flame shoot towards the oil lamp on the table, instantly lighting up the room. The man's masked face also became much clearer. Was he reclined to the side of bed, his golden robes had opened slightly. This revealed a small amount of his jade skin chest, chiseled and enticing. Huang Yuli's gaze landed on his body. However, her expression did not change in the slightest. She said in a detached voice, "Lord Owner, this is my room. It doesn't seem to be a place where you should appear." Young Miss Bai's indifference really breaks my heart. This lord had rushed here to personally inform you of the auction's news. I did not think, not only would you not welcome this lord, you also used such vicious techniques. Due to Huang Yuli's abundant experiences, her expression did not change. On the contrary, it was the man's expression that became exceptionally terrible looking. His words carried such a coquettish tone and easily inverted black into white. It was clearly the man's fault for trespassing into a young lady's room during the night. Not matter how you looked at it, she was performing justable self-defense. How did it become her fault? Furthermore, while the man spoke, his hands firmly tied down Huang Yuli's wrists. His fingers were also freely rubbing her tender palms. This move was one that invoked deep and tender emotion, causing her to feel an itch within her. Though she wanted to resist, the disparity between their power did not allow her to. Narrowing her eyes, she opened her mouth. "Lord Owner, the small task of passing on auction information can be left to one of the auction hands. I really do dare to trouble you, Lord. Third young miss is too courteous. After all, you are a third-tier armament master. This must be treated much care, especially since it involves our 1,000 treasure pavilions business. The basic courtesy we can give is for this lord to personally come. You do not need to feel embarrassed." As the man smiled, his lips distinctly went upwards. Even though you could not see his entire face, that small enticing action would cause any girl to shriek out. You can also listen on. Unfortunately, in the eyes of Huang Yuli, apart from annoyance, there was only annoyance. No matter how dignified his words may sound, the fact still remained. He had trespassed into her bedroom during the middle of the night. It painted a picture of a suspicious and scandalous scene. If she were to swap with her previous self, that girl would have long started to cry for her mother in front of such a lecher, teaching her why flowers were so red. But now that the tiger was out but with no resistance possibility, she could only pretend to comply. With that man's cultivation, it enabled him to walk horizontally in South U. Any kind of beauty that he wished for, he would be able to obtain. But her current appearance really couldn't be counted as any beauty. Unless this man's tastes were that special, liking the young ones. Otherwise, he was just bored and wanted to play with her. With great difficulty, Huang Yuli suppressed her anger and said in a level voice, "Since it is like this, I ask the Lord Owner to say your important news. There is no need to dally any longer, you have met the person you wanted. Your days are filled with work, so I will not waste any more of your precious time." The man grinned, "No rush. How can you say that you are wasting my time? This is what this lord wants." His grin was unrestrained and fully presented his kingly charisma for all to see. Only those at the very top were gifted with such an aura. Instantly the temperature within the room plummeted. That icy coldness was stifling like an innate essence, infiltrating every corner of the room. Though his face was covered by a mask, Huang Yuli was still able to sense his scrutinizing gaze. Steadily, his gaze traveled from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet. It was like she had become of his possessions in his grasp. While Huang Yuli revealed a smiling expression, she was secretly cursing the man inside her heart. Lord Owner, you are too polite. But currently I am ready to rest. The man's profound gaze wavered a bit. This was unexpected. The reason why he did not withdraw his pressure was in hopes of scaring this girl. That would allow her to realize the gap in her abilities and make her attitude soften. With his cultivation and status, how many powerful experts could withstand his pressure? Each one of them, when faced with his gaze, could only bow down their heads. Yet this girl seemed to wholly unaffected. As the man's gaze landed on the bed behind her, his smile turned somewhat ambiguous. Resting so early? How about this lord rests with you on the bed and we'll talk in the morning? Huang Yuli's expression finally cracked. Lord Owner, honest people do not say obscured words. Why do you need to play with me? Why don't you state your aim openly? After all, I am a cultivation trash and have no way to reject you. His smile becoming mysterious, the man stood up with ease. Releasing his grip on her hands, he strode a table beside the bed and sat down. Little girl, I think you have misunderstood this lord. Going by your words, it seems you think that this lord wants to do something to you. You do not. She glanced at him. His slender fingers on his jaw, the man replied in a somewhat languid one, this lord also has beauty standards. Not just any woman can catch this lord's interest, that is why he chose this hard to take care of little fox. You can also listen on. But in the ears of Huang Yuli, those words became the opposite of their original meaning. After eating her tofu, must this man use such a disliking tone to state she did not catch his interest? Good. Very good. Extremely good. Standing up, her finger pointed towards the door. With a smile that wasn't quite a smile, she said, since it is like this, why did you come? My back courtyard is very lacking and poor. I expect that it also won't amount to much in your eyes. Raising her chin, her tone was frosty while her eyes burned with anger. But it was because of this that astonished people. Staring into that pair of brilliantly colored eyes, the man felt bewitched by them. He constantly felt that gaze was oh so familiar. Like he had been bewitched by those eyes, many years ago. Lost by her crafty and enticing smile. Henceforth, he yearned it even in his dreams. Even crossing the jade bridge of the Yellow River, he would not be able to escape. But clearly his first meeting with this girl was only a couple days ago. As though the man was distracted, his gaze towards Huang Yuli turned even more profound. On the other hand, Huang Yuli became further enraged by his staring. What was hidden within that lecherous gaze? Seeing this man's posing, could he really be a bit of a pervert? After quite some time did the man regain himself. His eyes traveling over her taut face, his mouth hooked. It seems that you are really unwelcoming of this lord. Huang Yuli chuckled in response, if the lord owner did not burst into my room during the night, humming and speaking unintelligent dribbles, I would be quite welcoming. Lazily, he replied, how can you blame this lord? It is you who does not the proper etiquette of treating guests. It has been quite some time since this lord arrived, yet you have yet to even pour a single cup of tea. How do you expect this lord to inform you of the news? Huang Yuli said, that is simple. Kai Wei, raising her voice, she wished to ask Kai Wei to go brew a pot of tea. Before the words could leave her lips, a warm and white as jade finger landed on her lips, silencing them. Leaning forward, the man closed in and smirked, why are you calling the maid? This lord wants to drink tea you brewed. The dominating smell of a man assaulted her nose. His clear lips were in such proximity of her face, that a single incline of his face and they would kiss. Instantly, Huang Yuli's cheeks were dyed red. Her breathing irregular. Slapping the man's hands away, brewing tea is fine, why was there is need for you to move your hands? But I must tell you, I only have cold water here. If you want to drink tea, you can only drink cold tea. If not for the fact that she still needed to rely on him to increase her cultivation, she endured. But this debt she will remember. Sooner or later she will return it to him. Watching her fake composure, he already guessed his thoughts. But he had nothing to worry about. This little fox was destined to never leave his palms. If in the future they are together and this little wanted to stretch her claws from boredom, he wouldn't mind playing with her. Making his imperial concubine smile was worthwhile. Following Huang Yuli's hand movements, he leaned back to say, "Is there a problem?" Eyes twinkling, the slender and bony hands landed on the teapot lid. Soon after, hot steam began to rise from the spout. It was clear to see that the water within had turned into boiling water. You can also listen on. Retracting his hand, the man smiled at Huang Yuli. The tea is hot now. Unable to say anything, Huang Yuli could only pour out a cup of tea. Once done, she pushed the cup towards him. "For you, to drink," she said in an ill tone. He didn't take up the cup. Raising his eyebrows, he questioned, "What? This is the attitude that you give to guests?" Speaking in such a rude tone, to outsiders it would seem like you have some sort of grudge with this lord. Eating so many benefits from her, how would she not a grudge? Rolling her eyes on him, Huang Yuli saw the frivolous curve on his face. She couldn't help but want to give him a big slap. But the man saw through her intentions, his gaze carrying traces of ridicule. Though his body was relaxed, his spirit encompassed the entire room. Every single detail and movement of Huang Yuli's would not be able to escape his notice. Biting her teeth, Huang Yuli told herself to be level-headed. Looking straight at the man, she said in an unhappy voice, "Lord Owner, please drink the tea." The man still did not move. Huang Yuli was further angered and asked, "What is the matter now? Inviting someone to drink tea, shouldn't you use both your hands and hand the teacup to them? Pushing and shoving the tea like this, isn't that too rude? And you are esteemed young lady from the manor." Huang Yuli smirked, "Is that so? My apologies, I did that incorrectly. Let me try again." As she spoke, her hand went to pick up the teacup. But as she neared the man's face, she splashed the tea out towards his face. Though the man was momentarily mesmerized by Huang Yuli's smile, he still reacted when she moved. Just as Huang Yuli's hand began to tilt, her wrist was securely caught. The slender jade hand with a strong as steel-like grip enveloped her tender hands, firmly trapping them. Huang Yuli wished to retract her hands. But even after several rounds of struggling, she was unable to move an inch. Amused, the man continued to exert pressure. Bit by bit, little by little he pulled her hand and the teacup closer towards him. Under the hateful gaze of Huang Yuli's, the teacup and her hand arrived at his mouth. Lightly, he took a sip of tea. Purposely or accidentally, his lip brushed with Huang Yuli's fingers. His tongue gently slid over, leaving a faint damp feeling. The taste isn't bad. The man couldn't help but smile. "You." As soon as her hand was free, Huang Yuli vigorously wiped her hand on her clothes. He smirked, "What's the matter? Was the tea too hot and burned third young Miss hand? Let this lord see it. This lord has some ointment for burns, how about applying some?" Hearing his words become more and more excessive, Huang Yuli's patience ran out. With a loud bang, she slammed the cup onto the table. "Okay, you have already drunk tea. You have also put up the necessary airs, what information do you need to pass on?" Seeing her exasperated manner, he smiled secretly. But he knew that this little girl's methods were many. As fun as provoking this little fox may be, she was only holding back due to some apprehensions. If he really pushed her to her limits, forcing her hands, perhaps he would suffer a bit. More importantly, the purpose of his visit was to provoke his future imperial concubine a bit. So, it should be about time he stopped. It was enough. You can also listen on. He gently shook his while displaying a helpless expression. Why so impatient? I only drank one mouthful of water. I still haven't eaten anything yet. If looks could kill, the man would have long been cut like tofu from Huang Yuli's glares. Receiving something good, he opened his mouth. But, since you want to know this badly, this lord will tell you. Hurry up and speak. The man said, You are very lucky. In 7 days' times, it will be the annual 1,000 Treasure Pavilion auction. It is the largest event in South Yu. And your items will be the final presentation for the event. Thoughtfully, Huang Yuli asked, Annual auction? Yes. Said the man, there will be a lot of rare treasures on sale. Whether it's heavenly treasures or natural artifacts, and immortal pills or profound armaments, they will all be available. Numerous forces from neighboring powers will arrive to participate in the auction. With a look of distrust, Huang Yuli asked, You are certain that big clients will be present? In the case that no one recognizes the item's value, then wouldn't my armaments be worthless? In regards to events such as auctions, Huang Yuli was much too familiar. As a 9th-tier armament master in her past life, many of Huang Yuli's works were auctioned off at astronomical prices. As a result, she was too aware of how things worked. The prices of items depended on the value of the item itself. But that value could rise and decrease exponentially with different marketing methods. With correct methods, they would definitely sell for much higher prices. Therefore, for an armament master, it is essential that they choose the correct auction house to cooperate with. Reaching out, the man tapped her small nose. Smilingly, he responded to her, What are you worried about? Rest assured, with this lord present, you little money grubber will definitely earn your fill. Besides, refining those things are effortless with your ability. Is there a need for you to be so focused on the prices of those little things? What do you understand? Huang Yuli rolled her eyes at him. The 9 Phoenix transformations, this kind of heaven-opposing technique required enormous resources. With the increase of each level in cultivation, the resources and spirit stones needed multiplied in the tens and hundreds of ranges. Even if it was her past life, with such wealth sitting under her, she would still feel cold sweat on her back. Especially at the face of such an exorbitant demand. This was simply burning money. Can someone really gather enough materials and spirit stones and practice to the 9th transformation? Even the most wealthy man in the Tianling continent, Ancestor Profound Ash Blade, would be unable to finance that. Worthy of being the best cultivation manual of a great god clan. So in order to practice 9 Phoenix transformations, she could not miss out on any money-earning opportunity. She would try to plunder all available resources. Due to this, she couldn't even let off the Wu Wei manor guards. After all, even the smallest mosquitoes had meat. The man was oblivious to the calculations within her heart. But when he looked at her slightly raised chin, he felt that she looked really cute. As he watched that arrogantly proud woman, with a little fox mind and a naturally intelligent personality, he could not pull his eyes away from her. Even his tone carried much spoiling within. Good, good, good. In any case, if you want money, this lord will accomplish it to the end. I guarantee to help earn enough money. Your words hold true. Huang Yuli smiled deviously, looking at him. The amount that I need is very, very large, a lot of money. Perhaps you wouldn't even be able to earn that much in your lifetime. You can also listen on. The man stared into her eyes, solemnly saying, then this lord will accompany you for the rest of your life to earn money." When he spoke, his mouth also held a tempting smile. The sound of an alluringly sexy voice, temptation clearly felt. It seemed like something he casually said to coax the little girl in front of him. But under his masked face, there was no doubt of his conviction. However, Huang Yuli could not see his face. Even if she could see his face, Huang Yuli would have never imagined the result. That this man would really accompany her to dig up every possible money source, earning money till it overflowed every pot and basin, walking by her side all the way to the peak. Thus, Huang Yuli only took the man's words as a joke and didn't put it in her heart. She stared at the man for a moment, crying out, "Dream on. You want to continue working with me? Not so easy. The products that I produce at all top of the line and will only improve in quality. I have no worries in finding other business partners. You still wish to cooperate with me next time? I must first see your performance." Chuckling, his eyes wantonly traveled from her small face, sweeping down to her white slender neck. "I won't let you down, you can rest assured." "That's good then. 7 days later, I await to see your performance." Huang Yuli raised her eyes and said, "Well, since you're finished, you can go." Stunned for a moment, the man smiled and shook his head. Why was it in this small fox's eyes, he appeared so annoying? How many high-born and proud young ladies held secret longing for him, all trying every single means to become close with him. But this little fox completely ignores him. She also couldn't wait to drive him away. However, what was even more strange was that he didn't feel displeased. In fact, it made him eager to see her, to approach her. "Why are you so anxious to drive me away? Destroying the bridge after crossing it, do you need to show it so blatantly?" Huang Yuli blinked her eyes, innocently smiling. "Lord Owner, what are your words? I want to give you a little more time, to properly prepare for the auction. So if influential buyers do not show up, you would not lose face." Secretly he smiled. How much did this little girl look down on people? Isn't she just a third-tier armament master? If no one were to buy her products, he was more than willingly to spend money for her. But he couldn't disregard the fact, this little girl's refined armaments held outstanding quality. It would definitely sell for high prices. Laughingly, he looked into the girl's eyes. His heart moving, he unknowingly closed their distance by a bit. As Huang Yuli had her guard up against him, when he neared her, she hurriedly stepped back. The approaching hand, when it reached out in an attempt to brush her cheek, instead it only met with empty air. Embarrassed, the man stood up. "Okay then. This lord will first leave. 7 days later, remember to personally come to the auction. In case you say that this lord had cheated you of your money. Of course I must come to watch." "I do not believe you," Huang Yuli stated naturally. Looking at her, "Then this lord will leave. Hurry up and leave. Could it be you want me to send you off?" The man heard her words. Walking past her, the man reached out his hand and pulled her into his embrace. As fast lightning, he lightly pecked Huang Yuli's soft cheek. Immediately afterwards, he smiled widely. "No need to send me off, little girl. You can also listen on." That man was like lightning, disappearing in a blink of an eye. This caught Huang Yuli off guard. Not only had she been taken advantage of, but also made her heart feel stifled. All the way until the next morning, she felt indignant. As Kai Wei carried the breakfast over the next morning, she was shocked by her frustrated expression. She started to tremble with fear. Seeing the tray of hot xiao long bao and jujube cake, Huang Yuli's mood became a lot better. Previously, the back courtyard did not have its own kitchen. As a result, they had to obtain their meals from the main manor. Unfortunately, under the influence of the manor madam, this task became many times more difficult. Every time, the meals consisted of cold leftovers. As a reborn foodie, Huang Yuli really could not bear the past few days. Therefore, when she hired new servants, she especially selected a senior chef. It was rumored that the family's grandfather Zhang had served in the imperial kitchen. His specialty was pastries. After breakfast, Kai Wei suddenly stopped from a question after picking up the plates. That's right. Kai Wei, do you know if my father left behind anything for me before he went missing? Ah. Kai Wei was stunned for a moment. Third young miss, why do you suddenly ask this? The old master left you a lot of things. I heard there are 7 estates, more than a dozen shops, and quite a lot of gold, silver, jewelry, calligraphy scrolls and antique paintings. But due to your young age, the manor master assumed ownership over them. Replying by Huang Yuli's side, Kai Wei carefully cast her a glance. Third young miss, it's all the servant's fault. I was not able to stop the master, protecting those, it's all right. I'm not asking you this. Huang Yuli interrupted Kai Wei's words. As for things like jewelry, calligraphy scrolls and antique paintings, she didn't put them in her eyes. It was fine if he took them away. She paused and asked, I meant to say, my father as the #1 expert of South Yu, did not leave behind any immortal pills, materials, or profound armaments. Various techniques and skills. Kai Wei blinked and said, the old master had left some healing pills. They are kept on the shelves of the study. There are probably 7 or 8 bottles. But the second miss took many over the years, leaving only 2 bottles. This servant really doesn't have any recollection, Huang Yuli frowned. The pills Kai Wei mentioned, she knew of. But those were just first-level upper-grade blood-clotting pills. Towards ordinary people they are quite effective, but towards a high-level practitioner, their use was very limited. According to her recently inquired information, Bai Lu Feng's name wasn't that powerful, but his power really was strong. He was 25 years old when he went missing. At that time, he had reached the 6th level of the Earth Profound Realm. Even in the 7 sacred places, this was rare. Moreover, Bai Lu Feng was born in a barren country like South Yu. Resources and manuals were very scarce. These were harsh conditions, so reaching the 6th level of the Earth Profound Realm at such a young, he was at the very least an 8th grade talent. Such a character left his daughter but a few pieces of ordinary jewelry, calligraphy scrolls and first-level pills. Huang Yuli expressed her disbelief. Moreover, it was clear that Bai Lu Jing and Bai Ruoqi did not believe it either. That resulted in their cross-examination of Bai Ruoli, in an attempt to find the true treasures left behind. Huang Yuli pondered a bit and asked, well, Kai Wei, think a bit harder. When my father left, he really left nothing for me. Not even a little object like a key of some kind. Kai Wei shook her head, key. This servant has no impression. You can also listen on. Huang Yuli stared into her eyes, saying, is that so? Try again. She used her piercing sky eye technique, lightly influencing Kai Wei's subconsciousness. Kai Wei's pupils suddenly blurred up. But after a while, she shook her head, third young miss, this servant really has no memory. Huang Yuli knew she did not lie. Waving her hand and said, okay then, I know. Go rest. After Kai Wei left, Huang Yuli's eyes closed for a while to think. She then went to the yard. The back courtyard no longer had its dilapidated appearance. Ever since the large recruitment of servants, the yard underwent a transformation. Not only were the designs from Huang Yuli's, but many beautiful flowers and plants were planted. As the maidservants saw Huang Yuli walk out, they paid their respects to her. Greetings to third young miss. paying respects to the third young miss. Huang Yuli called a few manservants over, pointing to a rock garden in the northeast. "The few of you, go destroy that rock garden for me." "What?" They looked at each other, thinking they misheard. That rock garden had existed for quite some time in the back courtyard. It could be considered one of the main features. "Just smashing it like that?" Huang Yuli repeated. "You did not mishear. Go destroy that. It has been some time since I passed the cultivation technique to you. Seeing that you have trained well, yielding good results, yet you can't even smash a rock garden. This servant dares not. Please wait a bit, third young miss, we will go immediately." The third young miss taught them precious cultivation techniques. This kindness was too great. It was equivalent to giving them a new life. As a result, all the servants treated Huang Yuli as their god, swearing their eternal loyalties to her, not daring to disobey her. Before long, the small pond-sized rock garden became a pile of gravel. The servant came back to report, "Third young miss, this servant has finished. Which master landscaper do you wish to invite to redesign it?" Huang Yuli shook her head. "No need. Go smash that too." The next person looked back and found that the third young miss was referring to the West Wing's corridor. This corridor was attached to the entire building. Smashing that section will cause that overall image to be destroyed. It would look no different from a construction site. Was the third young miss crazy? However, Huang Yuli's attitude was resolute. Everyone listened to her orders, and went to smash the corridor. "Go fill up this water hole for me, remove that tree for me." Huang Yuli spent the entire morning ordering the group of servants. The entire back courtyard ended up being destroyed. The scene was similar to the aftermath of a cyclone blowing through. The servants originally thought that the third miss wished to renovate the yard. But she had destroyed so much and without any sense or pattern. It was like she was venting her anger. She couldn't have been provoked by someone. Kai Wei had run out to stop her, but did not succeed. She had been frightened to death thinking that something had gone wrong with her family's misbrain. Huang Yuli ignored their ignorant gazes. Standing in the center of the ruins, she looked up at the sun's position. Her slender jade finger pointed up, eyes squinting, she quickly began to calculate up. Just after her rebirth, she sensed the courtyard's peculiarities. Although the appearance was very appalling, it was built very specially. It secretly aligned with the attributes of heaven and earth. The buildings around the courtyard, coincidentally formed a hidden spell formation. You can also listen on. But over the years, no one maintained the courtyard and some lines had been eroded away. The formation was unable to display its full ability. Originally, she felt that something was off. She did not understand why Bai Lu Feng laid down a formation in this location. But she was reminded by Bai Lu Jing's words and the truth appeared. Bai Lu Feng definitely hid something in this back courtyard, something that he did not want others to find out. This formation was something created by a formation master who was at the 5th tier or higher. With South Yu's cultivation quality, there was no one who would be able to break this. Because many high-level profound tools could assist armament refiners to be promoted, many would study various formations and works. In her past life, Huang Yuli also studied formations. So she was able to see through this mysterious array. The reason why she made people smash the yard was not because she had too much money. But she wanted to clear all obstacles in different directions, revealing the array in its entirety. Formations required a very high technical skill. You needed large amounts of precise calculation and excellent control, in order to align with the profound qi within the heavens and creating their own laws. The creation of every single small stroke and line, all relied on the formation master's spirit power. Consequently, a formation master's cultivation talent may be average, but they were all first-class geniuses in spiritual power. Taking the time to burn a stick of incense, Huang Yuli suddenly opened her eyes. In her eyes, a flash of light swept through. Immediately, she walked straight towards the direction of the study. There was the eye of the formation. If other formation masters were to learn that it took her such a short time to crack a fifth-tiered formation master's work, they would not believe their eyes. However, in this yard, no one was so knowledgeable. In fact, everyone else thought that Huang Yuli was in the midst of a crazy fit. When Huang Yuli moved, Kai Wei rushed over, crying out, "Third young miss, where are you going to? Are you right? Not sick? Feverish? Is your head dizzy? This servant will go find a doctor." Huang Yuli shook her head. "I'm going to stay in the study for a while. You go and find some people to tidy up the courtyard. Do not come to bother me." But, third young miss, if you are sick, you must treat it all." However, Huang Yuli did not wait for her to finish. With a bang, the door to the study slammed shut. Isolated from the outside world, Huang Yuli started to calculate everything in her head again. She walked aside, towards the study's wall. The wall looked old and some of the painted areas had begun to crack. Huang Yuli's pale fingers gently touched the wall a few times. Suddenly, only hearing a whoosh whoosh sound several times, the side of the bookcase opened from the middle. It revealed a dark space hidden behind. If she forcibly tried to open it, not only would she be unable to unlock it, she may possibly trigger the hidden contraptions within. Worst case scenario, it could be life-threatening. However, it was not something too difficult for Huang Yuli. This kind of seamless box, she had constructed hundreds. She was very clear about the mechanisms. Placing the box straight, she began to observe the lines on the lid. And then carefully she pressed in a few different directions a few times. The box issued a "kachif" sound. Huang Yuli's heart jumped. She knew that the box was activated. However, she had no time to rejoice. The top of the box suddenly flashed. Coupled with the sunlight, it was impossible to see clearly. Huang Yuli reacted quickly, immediately dodging to the door. Following, 3 loud bangs echoed from the study. A violent burst of shocks occurred, directly shattering the doors and windows of the study. Not only that, the strong gusts of air also blew out. Though Huang Yuli dodged, she was still sprayed black and gray with dust. And nearly fell straight to the ground. Simply too embarrassing. She was pushed quite a distance by the air currents. She was blown all the way to the courtyard before coming to a stop. Straightening her waist, she wiped the sweat off her face. But she found out that her hands had been stained black. Her heart shook from shock. As a past 9th-tier armament master, she had judged the wrong. This ordinary-looking 5th-level seamless box. Not only did she not open it successfully, she also triggered the hidden mechanisms. How was this possible? It was too bad. Just where did I go wrong? Huang Yuli pouted. Complaining, she wanted to go back to find the box. Kai Wei ran over, stopping in front of her. Third young miss, wait a minute. What is wrong with you today? First, the yard was smashed, and you almost bombed down the study. Are you really all right? Kai Wei carefully asked. Her voice was not too high, as if she feared that she might provoke Huang Yuli further. Huang Yuli's mouth curved upwards. She knew that her series of actions today was a bit strange. But this girl did not need to express such a face, fearing that she was sick. Creak. Creak. At this time, from the sky suddenly came a crisp sound of birds. A golden-red bird flew over unsteadily. Onto the sleeves of Huang Yuli it fell. In its mouth, dangled a drumstick bigger than its body. Roasted fragrant and tender, and oil still dripped down. Ah, Huang Kai. Seeing the cage was empty, this servant spent quite some time to search for you. Turns out, you went to the kitchen to eat it. So adorable, so smart, so cute, a look of amazement covered Kai Wei. While Huang Yuli was angered beyond belief. Only she was able to understand the cheeps that the little lousy bird said. The meaning of those chirps were, stinking woman, too ugly, too stupid. That blood feather silk cage cannot be opened like that. You still dare to call yourself a ninth-tiered armament master. Your stupidity goes all the way back to your family. She glanced down at the little phoenix. But this child did not fear for his life or death. Triumphantly he shook his small head, chicken oil rubbing onto her sleeves. Huang Yuli picked it up. Throwing the chicken leg to the side, she carried it back into the study. Just as she wanted to tell Kai Wei to leave, the little phoenix landed on the floor. Quickly it turned into a small child and jumped towards the door. This little lord's drumstick. Return my drumstick. This drumstick is the most tender and flavorful one. This little lord only chose it after an entire morning's worth of time. You can also listen on. The boy was only able to run 2 steps, before it was captured by Huang Yuli and carried back. Enough. I had said in the last night's dinner, why there always were suspicious tooth prints. Turns out that each and every drumstick was tasted by you, little thief. The little boy shrunk back his head, realizing that he had said too much. But soon, he confidently said, well, the last time I spit fire for you, you clearly promised me meat for every meal. Do you want to go back on your word? I said I would let you eat meat, but I did not let you steal food. His head crooked, he arrogantly said, so what? This little lord eating your chicken, is giving you face. If not because your chef has barely passable skills, this little lord would not eat at all. Oh, so you were giving me face, so what? Huang Yuli faintly smiled and said, no wonder strict education should be given to children. Can't be too spoiled. It seems that I have no experience. The little boy looked up and found the female devil's smile a bit sinister. He felt danger. He took a step back. What do you to do? I warn you. Not waiting for him to finish, Huang Yuli picked from him and faced him down. Ass up, she put him on her thigh. In the face of one of her strikes, the small boy's face whitened. Immediately he started to cry wolf. Save me ah. The female devil is beating people. Woo woo woo, bullying me, a little phoenix who has no father, no mother, no elder brother. Your heart is too evil. Well then, hit me, kill me. But if you do, no one will be able to tell you how to open that box. As he was crying, he twisted his neck back to see Huang Yuli's expression. Naturally Huang Yuli noticed his gaze, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. The way this child was acting, it was like she really had the intention to kill him. Don't be fooled by his mournful cries. In actuality, there were no tears in his eyes. Furthermore, she had yet to touch his butt. Wasn't he too enthusiastic? However, when she heard him mention the box, she released him. Do you know what the box is? Huang Yuli did not think that her knowledge regarding armaments would be worse than others. It can only be said that the thing within that box was not ordinary. Although one could not see it, but the little phoenix after all was a sacred beast. Although it was a little unreliable, its knowledge was certainly higher than hers. Maybe it could really tell her what the box was. The little phoenix rolled his eyes and said, hee, this thing. By Huang Yuli's analysis, she guessed that this little arrogant child wanted to strike another pretentious pose. She immediately interrupted him, little Huang Kai, elder sister must remind you, this elder sister has yet to settle debts from yesterday. You must be careful on how you speak today. Yesterday, what happened yesterday? The little phoenix did not understand. Huang Yuli smilingly said, "Little brat. You are elder sister's contracted spirit tool. Ah. Why do you not appear last night, even after numerous calls from me?" Last night, when the master of Thousand Treasure Pavilion appeared, Huang Yuli had attempted to call out the little phoenix. A single spray of true phoenix fire, even if it didn't kill that man, it would have told him to scram immediately. She did not expect that this little brat at the critical moment was so unreliable. No matter how she called him, he did not react. She suspected he had gone to steal more food again. You can also listen on. The little one's big eyes blinked, his face becoming stiff. "Ah, did you make a mistake, female devil? How could you make me deal with such a terrible man? This one's age is still young, and still wants to live a few more years." Huang Yuli raised her eyebrows. What? Was he that terrifying? Do not give me such an excuse. You must be deliberately refusing to help. Eating so many chicken legs, when I ask you to work a little, you are unwillingly. Aren't you at least a little bit ashamed? Do you only know to eat and nothing else? I am not someone who knows only to eat. The little boy reasonably argued, what I said was true. That mask-wearing man is really terrifying. You do not understand, he has a very mysterious and powerful chi force. It really suffocates people. Huang Yuli looked at the little phoenix strangely and said, "Well then. I also think that man holds extraordinary strength, but you are a powerful and ancient phoenix. Even if you are young and your strength may not be comparable to him, you wouldn't be suppressed by his chi force. Refusing to even reveal yourself? I do not know what was going on, but I really didn't lie." The little phoenix was afraid she would hit his little ass, so he quickly covered his butt. Moving to the side and hiding himself while crying out "Ai's and ahs," as soon as the man appeared, an innate aura of overbearingness seeped out from his bones. Nearly made me kneel on the ground to him. That kind of aura, you mortals cannot sense, but for me it was really terrible. So I did not come out. Was it that horrible? Huang Yuli asked suspiciously. The little boy fiercely nodded his head. It's true. I think his bloodline must be very strong. Only then, would he be able to let me experience that kind of feeling, bloodline? Huang Yuli frowned. What kind of bloodline can be stronger than an ancient beast's? The little boy was also perplexed. Tilting his head, he thought for a while. Truthfully, if you were in the god realm, the bloodlines of some noble families are truly stronger than the bloodlines of us ancient beasts. But currently we are in the lower realm, I really can't think of anything. Huang Yuli's brows wrinkled up. According to the little phoenix's statement, did that mean that the man held a bloodline that rivaled someone from the god realm? But that was impossible, because it was said that tens of thousands of years ago, the passage between the Tianling continent and the god realm was sealed due to some particular reasons. The profound qi within the environment also became much more sparse. That was the reason why there were so few experts within Tianling continent. Moreover, if the man's bloodline truly was that powerful, he would not be lingering in such a weak country like South Yu. With his talent, any of the grand powers within Tianling continent would be fighting for him. Huang Yuli thought for a while. Even as her head started to hurt, she could not think of anything. Shaking her head, she suddenly saw a tiny and suspicious figure from the corner of her eyes. In tiny steps, the little boy was stealthily inching towards the door. She coughed, "Wang Kai." Damn. The little boy immediately stood up straight. It's not, I am saying, I am not called Wang Kai. I have the name, I am called, yesterday things I barely forgave you, but what is the deal with this box? You have to explain it clearly for this sister. Huang Yuli interrupted him. Ah, this thing, the little boy was itching to act pretentiously. From the side, Huang Yuli smilingly reminded him, little thing, you must consider it carefully. You cannot protect your sister, and if are also unable sister to open the box, then why do I need to feed you? From tomorrow onwards, all your rights to chicken drumsticks will be cancelled. You can also listen on. What? The little boy almost jumped up. How can you do that? Huang Yuli chuckled internally. Stretching out her slender jade fingers, she shook them in front of him. I am your master. It should be pig, person. The little boy muttered. Huang Yuli pricked up her eyebrows. What did you say? No, did not say anything. Sealing his lips, the boy used his chin to point in the direction of the box. That box is not the seamless silk box that you say it is. Instead, it is a blood feather silk cage. When I was a baby phoenix, I had seen this type of object in the god realm. Did not expect your Tianling continent to also possess one. Huang Yuli was stunned. God realm. How was it the god realm? No wonder she had never seen such a method to make this seamless box. So it was, a technique from the god realm. However, Bai Lu Feng was only a marquis in a small country. How was he able to possess such a box? The little phoenix said, take up the box and look at in the light. Do you not see the feather pattern on the lid of the box? Listening, Huang Yuli took quite a bit of time finding the imprint. Even then she could only see a faint craving. If not for his hinting, she would have glossed over that completely. That's right. What now? This kind of blood feather silk cage is mainly used for the passing messages in a family. Only those who share the same bloodline can open the box. Drip your blood onto the feather and the box will open. No matter how much you press, it will not open. Furthermore, if you fail more than 3 times, it will self-destruct, destroying the things inside as well. Hearing his words, Huang Yuli placed the box back onto the table. Using her fingernails, she cut open her finger. A drop of bright red blood formed on her white rounded fingertip, dropping onto the lid. This time, nothing happened. Snap, it lightly sounded as the lid bounced up. Laughing, Huang Yuli happily patted his head. So obedient. Continue eating your drumsticks. Tomorrow, this sister will buy you a lot of chicken legs. Not only can you roast them, you can also steam, braise, fry. The boy drooled, his saliva dripping to the ground. This blessing came far too suddenly. At this moment, the female devil had become particularly generous, beautiful, lovely. Second only to chicken drumsticks. Then I also want chicken wings. Okay. In a good mood, Huang Yuli waved her hand and agreed. Changing back into a fluffy yellow bird, he happily flew away. Walking towards the table, Huang Yuli settled down to view the contents. Inside the small mahogany box, quietly lay a scroll. Huang Yuli was no stranger to this. This used refined sea sand grass and engraved into a type of paper. The traits of this paper was that it could only be read once. Furthermore, it could be stored thousands of years without rotting. Generally, these were used by large sect masters and heads to record secret techniques. Reaching out, she slowly opened it. On the scroll, the words flowed naturally and like a flowing river. When people saw the words on the scroll, they would be able to tell that the writer was someone of great grace and noble character. To my beloved daughter Roali, when the first line of words greeted her, Huang Yuli's mind shook. This really was a letter her father Bai Lu Feng left behind for her. You can also listen on. Also mentioning that he must not leak news about their daughter out, otherwise she would definitely be taken away. The love of his life was taken away just like that. Bai Lu Feng was heartbroken beyond belief. Although his wife's letter asked him not to find her, how could Bai Lu Feng not? Crazily, he began to cultivate to improve his cultivation. All the while, he frantically searched for the whereabouts of his wife. Finally, 3 years later, he obtained a clue. He knew that he was entering dangerous waters, with very slim chances of returning. He also couldn't stop worrying about his young daughter. However, this fleeting opportunity to find his wife, he could not let go so easily. Otherwise he would regret it for a lifetime. You can also listen on. Within the Tianling continent, the Celestial Light sect held equal standing with the major forces. The engravings of Celestial Light was the symbol of the sect. An average person would not dare to imitate it. What relationship did Bai Lu Feng have with the Celestial Light sect? Also, this jade piece with those nonsensical numbers, what was their meaning? Huang Yuli originally thought that Bai Lu Feng had given her a treasure map. In the end, it's she who had dreamed too blissfully. No matter how she checked the box, apart from the jade pendant and letter, there were no other clues. At her wit's end, Huang Yuli could only put away the jade pendant and seamless box. You can also listen on. When Huang Yuli walked away from the study, the weather had turned dark. She told the servants to refurbish the study and courtyard. Afterwards, she told them to prepare dinner. While eating, Kai Wei constantly held a hesitant expression. Obviously she felt that something was off with her young miss today. Especially after those actions. Huang Yuli turned a blind eye to this. Within her mind, she only thought about the letter and jade pendant. Today, she tried every means to break the hidden formation, to find the letter Bai Lu Feng left behind. It was only to find the truth of her father's disappearance. She did not expect that once she read the letter, her question was not answered. Only more questions formed. In the end, what kind of identity did Bai Ruoli's mother possess? Why was she a 9th grade talent, yet remained unknown to the world? What kind of family could nurture 9th grade talents and still remain so obscure? From the knowledge of her past life, Huang Yuli heard of practically all experts. Each of the major forces' affairs were always within her information network. But she did not hear of the mysterious identity behind her mother. This was too shocking. Huang Yuli vaguely felt that the continent held a lot of secrets. In her past life she was infinitely close to the Marshall Peak, at the very least she could glimpse the threshold. But the harsh reality was, she had merely been looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. Her view was far too narrow. Additionally, what kind of clue did Bai Lu Feng find, that made him so desperately leave his daughter? And the jade pendant he left behind, what was its meaning? All this mystery, all so intricate, completely made her unable to make heads or tails. 7 days passed by. Soon, it was the day of the annual auction of Thousand Treasure Pavilion. Huang Yuli rose early, ready to rush to Thousand Treasure Pavilion and participate. She did not trust that man. Such an important event, it was best if she personally went to observe the auction situation. If she was swindled by him, she would not help him count his money. But just as she stepped out of the gates, she was astounded. There was silence on the street. A golden sandalwood horse carriage stopped in front of her. Curtain sliding open, a tall, elegant and extravagant man stepped down from the carriage. Wearing his mask, he emitted his mysterious and bewitching temperament. Huang Yuli did not expect to meet him here. Face falling, she wanted to make a detour. Taking a step forward, the man blocked her path. "Third young Miss Bai, where are you going?" His low and sexy voice carried a faint trace of a smile as it traveled into her ears. This voice was extremely mystifying. But in the ears of Huang Yuli, it became rather annoying. She turned her head and stared at the man, saying, "Where am I going? it does not seem to have any relation to you. She nodded and said, okay then. Voice fading, the man's long arm stretched out, suddenly hooking onto her slender waist. Using some force, he pulled her into his arms. What are you doing? Huang Yu angrily glanced up. The man tightened his arms. As he felt the waist that seemed it would snap with a little force, her body's warmth and breathing, his heart couldn't help but send out waves of emotion. Eyes falling on her pink-colored lips, he smiled wantonly. This carriage is too high. You are not a practitioner, so climbing up would be too hard. This lord will carry you up. Don't move around too much. Not hard. No need for you to trouble yourself. Huang Yuli began to struggle too late, as he had already carried her into the carriage. Fortunately, once in the carriage, he did not continue to hold her. But he gently released his arms. Regaining her freedom, Huang Yuli gave him a supercilious look. Since she was already in the carriage, she didn't continue to be unreasonable. Minding her own business, she settled herself down. On the small table was fine translucent tea set with a small fire underneath the teapot. Sitting in the teapot was still the top-quality clear red grass tea. It was not Huang Yuli's first time in the carriage, and regardless of what the man was doing, she poured herself a cup of tea. Sipping the tea, she looked out the window. The man pricked up his eyebrows. This little fox was so spontaneous. Did she treat herself as the owner of the carriage? If she thought like that, it made him extremely happy. However, she just poured her own tea and completely treated him a peerless man as thin air. Was there a problem with her sense of beauty, or a problem with her sight? No matter what the problem was, it must be corrected. Secretly coming to this conclusion, he quietly leaned towards his little fox. Looking out the window, Huang Yuli was trying to guess the results of today's auction. Suddenly, the man's voice sounded from near her ear. It was practically beside her ear. Little girl, what are you thinking? You, Huang Yuli was startled. Did this man study a special hidden movement technique? Why did he not even make a little bit of noise or movement, indicating he had moved behind her? Bluntly, the man sat right next to her. Huang Yuli was sitting in a seat meant for one person. Because the man forcibly squeezed himself in, their two people stuck side by side. Turning her head, she looked at him with a displeasure. Just as she planned to get up, what are you doing? Since you like my seats so much, I will let you have it. Who knew that as soon as she stood up, the man hooked onto her waist from behind. And also tripped her foot. Unstable, Huang Yuli could only sit back down. Not only that, she sat down on his thighs. Let go of me. Huang Yuli did not think this man would be so shameless, and immediately struggled to rise. He laughed in her ear and said, not releasing. You were throwing yourself into this lord's arms. If this lord were to refuse, wouldn't I be giving you no face? When did I throw myself into your arms? Delusional, must be cured. Huang Yuli clenched her teeth. The man demonically curved his mouth. How did you not? This lord merely wanted to sit next to you. Who knew that third young miss would be this passionate? Changing your position to sit directly onto this lord's legs. But do not worry, this lord fully understands your intentions. Though you took the initiative, this lord is not a superficial man. I will not think you are frivolous. You can also listen on. This was inverting black and white. Huang Yuli thought that her daily actions were already black-bellied enough. Who knew this man would be 100 times more shameless than her? Clearly it was he who deliberately pulled her. But he said it was out of her own free will. Huang Yuli's petite body was captured within his steel-like embrace. No matter how she struggled, she could not budge at all. As the man's hot breath blew onto her sensitive earlobe, her facial temperature unconsciously rose. Taking a deep breath, she stabilized her breathing and said, "Lord Owner, your words are a bit off. I do not know why you are so concerned about me, but I have no interest in you. I can see your cultivation is very high, your extravagance it not little either. Your identity is probably not an ordinary one too. Do you plan on assaulting an innocent and pure young girl?" Hearing this, the man could not help but laugh out loudly. Pure and innocent young girl. Which innocent girl will be like this little fox, black-bellied and ruthless? This little girl still had the face to such a thing. Hearing his words of ridicule, Huang Yuli forcibly suppressed the rising anger. "Why do you laugh? What do you mean?" The man's heart filled with warmth, a happy heart. His tone carrying traces of languidness. "Nothing. It seems this lord misunderstood you. Since you are not voluntarily sitting into the arms of this lord will not hold you any longer. You may go." Finishing, he really loosened his arm. Phoenix, you never thought that this man suddenly becomes so easy to reason with. She froze for a moment. He didn't deliberately take advantage of her. Why did he only hold for a bit, before letting go? The man smiled and looked at her. What? Not willing to go? Then don't be reluctant to admit your mistake. Obediently serve this lord a cup of tea, keep dreaming. Who is not willing to go? Huang Yuli snapped at him. Immediately stood up and intended to leave. However, before she could stand firmly, the carriage shook violently. Outside the window, came a loud and clear hoarse neigh, then the coachman's cries. Clearly the flowing cloud colt had been frightened. With Huang Yuli's center of gravity unstable, shaking to and fro, she was unable to gain proper footing. Once again, she fell into the iron-like arms of the man. The next moment, the man's arms coiled around her again. Next to her ear, came his wanton chuckle, "Little girl, you really cannot bear to leave this lord," but also embarrassed to admit. Huang Yuli almost vomited blood. The flowing cloud colt was a fifth-grade demonic beast. Regardless of the terrain, muddy or rugged road, it would be able to cross it like it was walking across flat plains. How can the capital's smooth roads causally startle it? Most certainly the man had done some secret tricks. She could only blame herself for not expecting this man to play her like that. As the man saw Huang Yuli's puffed-up cheeks on her little face, his mouth rose up naturally into a smug smile. In front of other people, this little fox was always so calm, nothing could make her surprised or panicked. Only he could make this black-bellied little fox reveal this angry look. An expression exclusive to him. Of course, he would like to see this little fox act a little like an ordinary woman. Coming into his arms and acting like spoiled child. That day should be coming soon, right? You can also listen on. Huang Yuli fiercely stared at the man. "Quickly, let me go." "Not letting go." The man smiled calmly, shamelessly tightening his arms around her. Huang Yuli's gaze was like daggers sliding past his throat. Feeling his back turn a little cold, he quickly changed the topic. "Little girl, today's auction is the largest auction that Thousand Treasure Pavilion has held in its history. Third-leveled profound armaments are very rare, even the country's royal family are very interested. They have dispatched someone over to the auction as well. Just patiently wait for your money to come." "Is that so? Since you speak like this, you put all your effort into the auction." Huang Yuli cast at him a side glance. In the past few days, Huang Yuli noticed the many news faces appearing within the capital's crowds. It was very obvious that they had come from neighboring countries. Judging from their clothes, they were all very wealthy. Needless to say, these people had come for the auction. As the carriage neared Thousand Treasure Pavilion, the horse carriages and pedestrians increased in number. One could imagine how lively Thousand Treasure Pavilion would be today. Thinking of her money, Huang Yuli's mouth finally exposed a trace of a smile. The man's gaze filled with nostalgia landed on her smile. He thought that her money-grubber attitude was very adorable, causing his heart to thump. He whispered, "That's right, this lord naturally made every effort to complete your matter well." Huang Yuli lifted her chin, saying, "You sure can speak well." She knew that she could not leave this man and did not struggle. Thus she turned her attention back to outside window. While the man was unwilling to avert his own attention to things outside of the horse carriage, his complete attention was all directed to the little fox within his arms. To be able to hold her within his arms, he really wished this moment to go on for longer. However, the journey from her back courtyard to Thousand Treasure Pavilion was not far away. Before long, the carriage came to a stop. Patting the man's arm, Huang Yuli said, "We're here, let's quickly get off." Unexpectedly the man did not move but lowly laughed. "What's the urgency? We arrived too early, and with thousands of people in front of Thousand Treasure Pavilion, why do we need to force our way through? We'll get off just before the doors open." Huang Yuli hesitated for a moment. Pursing her lips together, okay then. Smiling, the man looked as if he was about to molest her. Suddenly he felt a sharp pain. While Huang Yuli was still a bit confused, she had suddenly stepped down hard. She was proficient in a variety of sneak attacks, stepping on that location was very tricky. Not only did she step down, she also began grinding too. That was you called a true aching foot, sore beyond belief. From atop her head, the man's cries traveled, while the pressure on her waist relaxed a bit. Throwing her elbow backwards, Huang Yuli heavily hit the man's chest. Taking advantage of his stunned state, she quickly jumped out of his arms. "Wait on in the carriage yourself. I will get off first." Turning her head from the door of the carriage, Huang Yuli proudly smiled at him and proceeded to jump down. Bent down at the waist, he clutched his chest. When he did this, he happened to see her fox-like smile revealing a set of pointy teeth, making her seem more like a fox. It took him quite a while to regain himself. A flash of interest swept past his eyes. Really good, too treacherous, however, this lord just likes this kind of interesting person. Little fox, don't think of running away. Sooner or later, this lord will bring you back with me. You can also listen on. Alighting from the carriage, Huang Yuli's attention was immediately attracted by the sight in front of her. Thousand Treasure Pavilion's doors were decorated anew. The entrance and roads bustling with people coming and going. Wow, what is this situation? Today, how many people have come to Thousand Treasure Pavilion? A passerby saw the scene and exclaimed out in surprise. You don't even know. Today is the annual auction of Thousand Treasure Pavilion. Auction? Do you think I have not seen an auction of Thousand Treasure Pavilions before? How many people have attended in the previous years? Generally, only the aristocrats in the capital will attend. At most, a few people living in the royal palace would also attend. Do you see that horse carriage? It has the symbol of the royal family of the South Chu. Do you know South Chu? In the surrounding countries, they are the most powerful country. How do I not know? Let me tell you, the people participating are not only South Chu's royal family. And those are royals from South Maple, South Ming. How is that possible? Is it that big of a deal? I heard that this auction has third-leveled profound armaments for sale. Third-leveled armaments. No wonder so many royal families have been alerted. If third-leveled armaments are to appear, wouldn't only those royals be able to afford it? Not just one third-leveled armament. I heard that this time's auction will be selling a large amount of third-leveled armaments. 7 days ago, 1,000 Treasure Pavilion publicity displayed a portion. It caused a sensation, attracting so many people, a large number of third-leveled armaments. How can that be possible? Just a single one is able to drive those royals into a bidding frenzy. And a large number. Where did 1,000 Treasure Pavilion obtain them from? Hey, this is where you're ignorant. I heard that a large sect's armament master passed by our South U and sent his disciple to 1,000 Treasure Pavilion to sell his works. Even the Armament Guild's Vice President Yen admires this mysterious master. No wonder. Even Grandmaster Yen admires this armament master, he should have good skills. This mysterious sect's master definitely is someone of virtue and prestige. It's no wonder that today is very lively. It makes even me want to attend and watch. Just by you. I'm afraid you can't afford the tickets for this auction. Listening to the conversation of the passers-by, Huang Yuli's mouth held a trace of a smile. Soon after, her eyes moved to another section of the street. Parked around were many high-end carriages. Each and every one was very luxurious, while some carriages were engraved with the emblems of the neighboring royal families. It seemed that the man did not lie to her. Many big buyers had come. She walked straight to the front door, but was suddenly stopped by the guard. "This young miss, do you have an invitation?" "Invitation card." Seeing she was at a loss, the guard revealed some impatience. "Young miss, if you are just an ordinary guest, please go to the right door, line up and pay the admission fee. By the way, you will need to pay 32 silvers for one ticket for this auction. Please prepare in advance." Huang Yuli suddenly fell silent. High-leveled auctions will divide into seats into VIP and ordinary seats. But there were also discretion tickets. These were the auction rules used throughout Tianling continent. However, as the continent's best armament master, this was the first she was blocked outside. That stinking man probably predicted this outcome. He deliberately did not send her an invitation, waiting for her to bump into Nail and come asking him for help. You can also listen on. Thinking briefly, Huang Yuli was interrupted just as she about to speak. A familiar girl's voice came from behind her. "Third younger sister, it really is you. Looking at your back, I felt it was a little familiar. I thought that I saw incorrectly." Turning around, Huang Yuli saw Bai Ruoqi standing not too far away. She frowned faintly. Today she was ready to watch the bustling and experience the feeling of money rolling in, her mood really good. What she didn't expect to encounter was an annoying person, ruining her mood. Just 7 days ago, Bai Ruoqi's white face was swollen like a pig's. But now, all that swelling had disappeared. She returned to her bright and clean-looking face. It looked like a second-tier alchemist had cured her face. Otherwise, there was no possibility for it to heal that quickly. Furthermore, Bai Ruoqi was dressed very laviously today. She wore an exquisite golden embroidered skirt. Not only her makeup further enhanced her beauty, she was also sporting a variety of precious pearls and gems. Though her dress style was extravagant, it did not seem gaudy. It was just enough to bring out her beauty. Paired with that smile that wasn't quite a smile and her calm and tranquil tone, it really made her seem like an outstanding noble lady. Huang Yuli measured her up and smiled. "I was wondering who it was." "So it was second sister. Why have you come out?" "I heard that you suffered a very serious injury and have been recuperating in the manor lately. All this time, not daring to meet with others." Bai Ruoqi responded with surprise. "Third sister, where did you hear those rumors from?" "I just caught a slight cold, nothing much. A few days of rest at home is enough." "How did such tragic rumors come about?" Her tone was a bit helpless, her brows also wrinkled. If you were to just see her expression, you would think that Huang Yuli was a very stupid younger sister. Not listening to her elder sister's teachings, causing her much embarrassment in public. This woman was worthy of being the goddess to many young males in South Yu. The complete opposite to that simple-minded by Ruo Yan. She really knew how to act in public. Huang Yuli pricked up her eyebrows, so they were merely rumors. Then I congratulate second sister in restoring her health. However, you should be careful when leaving the manor in the future. My back courtyard is very dilapidated and very windy. Second sister should visit less. What if you catch another cold? You. Bai Ruoqi displayed a hurt expression. Act, continue to act. Huang Yuli was displeased by her disgusting heart. But her mind still reminded her of the big auction about to be held. She did not have the time to trade empty words her. She could find later opportunities to retaliate. So with a few mocking words, she was ready to leave. However, just as Huang Yuli turned to leave, she was stopped. What did you say? That's His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince. The most honorable and powerful son of our South Yu nation. And flowery-dressed aristocratic girl's face was flushed. With a fascinated look, I did not expect His Royal Highness to be not only talented, but also so handsome. He is just like one of the gods in heaven. If you could marry His Royal Highness, even becoming a concubine would be fortunate. Her companion quickly pulled her to the side. Oh, hurry and stop. The Crown Prince is a man equal to the dragon and phoenix. How can someone like you match? The aristocratic girl stared with dissatisfied at her companion. What is the matter? Do you not think like this too? I heard that the Crown Prince will be choosing his imperial concubine soon. I am still a general's daughter, maybe I will have an opportunity. Even if I don't become the imperial concubine, becoming an ordinary concubine is still likely. Her companion replied in a hushed voice, do not say any more. Do you not see the person beside the Crown Prince? That girl had not put the girl beside the Crown Prince in her eyes. But hearing their reminder, she swept a glance over. She nearly screamed out in fear. It's actually Wu Wei Manor's second miss. Is it not? I say that she is already the imperial concubine by default. See how close they are. The rumors may be true. It was her. The key thing was that she possessed a 4-grade cultivation talent. She is the South Yu's most talented female. With the Crown Prince, they are a match made in heaven. And today, second Miss Bai is participating in the auction with the Crown Prince. She mostly likely is his imperial concubine. Listening to the surrounding passers-by discussions, the noble girl embarrassedly lowered her head. His Royal Highness had long become accustomed to the pursuit of others. His facial expression, his fanning motions only served to further his romantic and suave heroic air, prompting frequent peeks from surroundings girls. While Bai Ruoqi, who was standing near the Crown Prince, inched closer to him. Hearing the envy and jealousy of the nearby girls, she couldn't help but become proud. Sure enough, only a beautiful and talented girl like herself could be worthy of the Crown Prince. If others wanted to fight with her, take a look mirror ask themselves if they're worthy. The Crown Prince had agreed to come to the auction today with her. She did waste her various preparations towards the Crown Prince. That little slut Bai Ruoli, did she not arrogantly say that the person marrying the Crown Prince was not certain? She really wanted to eat swan meat. Aren't she and the Crown Prince together? Does she have any more to say? That little slut mostly likely wants to drill a hole in the ground and hide there. Bai Ruoqi's proud gaze swept over Huang Yuli's expressionless one. His Royal Highness, please do not blame my third sister. She grew up with no father and mother, and with no cultivational talent. So her temper is a bit weird. It is but human nature, I do not mind. Prince looked into her eyes, his expression softening. Cheer, you have too good of a character, too generous. This kind of woman who does not know proper courtesy, I am afraid also uses her regent princess title wildly at home, angering you many times. It is hard on you to speak on her behalf. As he said this, he turned to look at Huang Yuli. Look at how much face Cheer is giving you. Apologize to Cheer and properly reflect once you return home. Think over your actions, how ashamed your father will be. You can also listen on. Hearing the crown prince supporting her like that, Bai Ruoqi nearly laughed out gleefully. The stifled feeling she had been suppressing was released. With a compassionate expression, she sympathetically looked towards Huang Yuli. Huang Yuli pricked up her eyebrows. Looking into their eyes was like looking at two idiots. No wonders Bai Ruoqi and the second madam were so anxious to send her to her death. Bai Ruoqi had long hooked up with the crown prince, so she found her younger sister an eyesore. She wished to eliminate the biggest block in her path. Speaking of which, this crown prince also held a ruthless look. When Bai Lu Feng first went missing, he still treated Bai Ruoli well. From his youth, he would take care of her like a fiancé would. Who could predict that Bai Lu Feng would not come back? Coupled with the fact that Bai Ruoli did not have an ounce of cultivation talent, the crown prince's attitude did an 180-degree flip. Towards Bai Ruoli's tragic predicament, he turned towards more promising prospects. His gaze turned to Bai Ruoqi, who was more suitable to become his imperial concubine. While silly Bai Ruoli still remembered the crown prince's older brother. She assumed that the engagement between them was still valid, believing that he would sooner or later come and take her away from this suffering. She lightly laughed, so you are the crown prince TSK, meeting in person really is better. What #1 genius? Not only is your talent mediocre, even your intellect seems to be damaged. You dare to talk to this royal like this? This was the first time the crown prince experienced such ridicule. He couldn't believe his ears. Huang Yuli faintly smiled. You actually that this woman who's like a snake is kind. Ha! I am really starting to doubt if there is something wrong with your eyes too. Bold. Really such a vulgar woman. Daring to mouth such outrageous claims in front of this royal. One can only imagine how you usually bully Cheer. The crown prince's face was slightly flushed, glaring at Huang Yuli. Boom, it sounded. The profound chi within the crown prince's body burst out, creating a powerful pressure. In an instant, the crowd's faces turned pale, their chests stuffy as they quickly escaped. Even Bai Ruoqi felt her chest tighten, nearly vomiting blood. She quickly retreated a few steps, trace of a smile floating on her face. Huang Yuli, that idiot, even dared to provoke his royal highness. He was an expert at the 7th level of the defensive profound realm. Her demonic techniques would useless in front of him. With the crown prince's noble status, Bai Ruoli was nothing even with her regent princess title. She was finished. With the passing of each second and minute, no one dared to linger. Clutching her stomach, Bai Ruoqi retreated 30 feet. However, the person suffering the majority of this pressure, Huang Yuli, acted as if she felt nothing. Casually she smiled. How could you? The crown prince was shocked. Someone who possessed no profound chi could resist his 7th level defensive profound realm aura. And so easily. He may as well go meet a ghost. They still say that this little girl was a cultivational trash. He couldn't help but look at Huang Yuli a few times. Compared to the carefully dressed Bai Ruoqi, Huang Yuli was clothed in a very common white dress with a purple fox-like vest. On her ears were a small set of small pearl earrings. She was originally elegant-looking. So why when she dressed like this, she became as ordinary and tasteless as water? However, in such an appearance, she was glowing. Just by standing there, she had her own elegant and pure demeanor. A cold alienated blossom, looking so special. Cold and arrogant, overwhelmingly fragrant. For a short duration, the crown prince was a bit bedazzled. Bai Ruoqi gnashed her teeth hard. How could it be? Why did the little slut not vomit blood, still standing there perfectly fine? And the crown prince's gaze. Was it necessary to stare at the little slut for such a long time? She didn't even have portion of her beauty, too lackluster. You can also listen on. Looking at the sky's color, Huang Yuli laughed out. What other advice does His Royal Highness the Crown Prince have? If you do not have any more, I do not have the time to accompany you further. You, wait. As she turned to go, the Crown Prince hurriedly stepped forward, wishing to stop her. Bai Ruoqi did not expect Huang Yuli to really attract the Crown Prince's gaze. Her heart was filled with hate. She hurriedly stepped forward to block the Crown Prince, whispering, Your Royal Highness, do not be angered. Let my third sister go. She is young and does not understand rules. Just a few days ago, because of some things, she was forbidden to leave for a long time. With great difficulty she was finally allowed out. Please do not bicker with her. She looked very generous, but failed to mention what happened exactly. Although did she not say, the manor madam had spread some rumors a couple of days ago. When she visited the royal palace, she had spread the news of her niece attempting to hang herself after it was discovered that she had been meeting with a man. This news naturally reached the Crown Prince's ears as well. His fine pair of eyebrows immediately wrinkled. The thought of this little girl offending public morals, and maybe losing her virtue had caused bursts of nausea to erupt from his heart. The previous throbs instantly vanished. Why did he waste so much time looking at this low-leveled thing? He was bewitched. It was still Bai Ruoqi, a talented, beautiful and gentle woman who was worthy of him. Thinking of this, the Crown Prince's gaze turned into a look of disgust. Looks like third young Miss Bai did not reflect when you were under house arrest. Still so arrogant and despotic. This auction is not a place where you should come. Someone come and take third young Miss Bai back to Wu Wei Manor. Let Wu Wei Manor properly discipline her. From behind the Crown Prince, out stepped two black armored guards. Taking a few steps, they stopped in front of Huang Yuli. Halting her steps, Huang Yuli turned back to the smiled at the two. So interesting. I do not where I am wrong and need to return to reflect. The Crown Prince sneered. Must you force this royal to say it? The news of your scandal with a man has spread throughout the entire royal palace. As Wu Wei Manor's only daughter, you dare to do such moral offending business. Also refusing to admit your wrongs. But, Huang Yuli innocently blinked, I merely spoke some words with a stranger and it became a scandal. Second sister and the Crown Prince has no engagement, but are close enough to go shopping together. You also rode in the same horse carriage. What would that indicate? Male adulterer. Catching a couple in the act. Within the onlookers, there were many young girls who were jealous of Bai Ruoqi. When they heard those words, they began to discuss secretly amongst themselves. That's right. The official choosing of the imperial concubine has yet to occur. But Bai Ruoqi is already shopping together with the Crown Prince. Really too shameless. Yes, in the end there is still no royal decree. Coming out together like that, losing oneself like that. If the emperor does not choose her as the imperial concubine, and she still continues to be intimate with the Crown Prince, who would dare to marry her? Bai Ruoqi's face became very red. You, what did you say? Venomous slander. I and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince are just friends. On what basis can you say we are male adulterer? You shameless slut, by Ruo Qi almost exposed herself. Regaining control of herself, she swallowed back the vulgar words. At the same time, she looked at the crown prince with some apprehension. She was hoping her sudden loss of self didn't make the crown prince disgusted, creating loathing towards her. Fortunately, this time, the crown prince was quite angered. He did not have the time to bother with her. His eyes fell on Huang Yuli and sneered, "Good. Very stupid. Just a little marquis lady, yet dares to offend her superiors. What are you waiting for? Go and arrest her. You can also listen on."